Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are performing an emergency surgery on the lie that is currently festering in your heart. You are sitting there, perhaps weeks or months after the discard, wondering if the narcissist misses you. You remember the intensity of their gaze, the desperation in their voice when they hoovered you in the past, and you mistake it for love. You think, surely, a connection that deep cannot just vanish. I am here to tell you that what you witnessed was not love. It was not passion. It was the frantic, sweating, shaking desperation of a junkie who has lost their needle. We are going to decode the intimate craving the narcissist feels when you are gone, and why it looks like love but functions exactly like a heroin withdrawal. You need to understand that the narcissist does not bond with people, they bond with functions. To them, you were not a separate entity with dreams and feelings, you were a high-functioning appliance that regulated their internal temperature. You were a walking, breathing dialysis machine filtering out their toxic shame. When you left, or when they discarded you and realized the new machine was broken, they didn't feel heartbreak. They felt a physiological shock to their system. The craving they feel is the panic of an organism realizing its oxygen supply has been cut off. It is visceral, it is immediate, and it is entirely self-serving. We often romanticize the narcissist's obsession. We see them driving by our house, calling from blocked numbers, or posting sad songs, and we think, they are grieving. Stop. Look closer. This is not grief. Grief requires the acknowledgement of another person's value. What you are seeing is supply starvation. The narcissist is an empty vessel with a hole in the bottom. You were pouring your soul into them to keep them full. Now that you stop pouring, they are draining out. The suffering they feel is the sensation of hitting the empty mark. It is the terrifying realization that without your external validation, they cease to exist. Think about the way a drug addict behaves when they are looking for a fix. They will lie, steal, manipulate, and cry. They will promise to change. They will say anything to get the substance back in their blood. The narcissist operates on the exact same neural pathways. When you are gone, their brain stops receiving the dopamine hits you provided, the admiration, the reaction to their abuse, the sexual intensity. Their brain enters a state of chemical chaos. They are not missing you, the person, they are missing the chemical stability you provided to their disordered nervous system. This intimate craving is dangerous because it mimics intimacy. When they reach out during this withdrawal phase, they sound incredibly convincing. They might cry tears that look real. They might tremble. This performance tricks your empathy. You think, they must really love me to be this broken. But you are misinterpreting the data. They are broken because their crutch has been kicked away, not because they cherish the crutch. You are witnessing a breakdown of their coping mechanisms, and they are trying to reinstall you to stop the shaking. The narcissist lives in a state of perpetual internal deadness. You were the battery that jump-started their heart every morning. Your energy, your light, your empathy, it made them feel alive by proxy. When you remove that battery, they slump back into their natural state, a cold, grey, lifeless void. The craving they feel is a terror of this void. They are reaching for you in the dark not to hold your hand, but to pull you into the abyss so they don't have to be alone in it. It is a parasitic reflex, grabbing onto the host for survival. Why does this withdrawal feel so personal to you? Because they designed it to be. They trained you to believe that you were the only one who understood them. They groomed you to be the perfect source. So when they come back begging, it validates your programming. But look at the pattern. A person in love respects your boundaries. A person in withdrawal smashes through them. The intensity of their pursuit is not a measure of their love, it is a measure of their desperation. The harder they chase, the hungrier they are. It has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with their famine. The narcissist is also addicted to the power they held over you. This is a specific type of high. Watching a strong, capable person crumble under their manipulation gave them a rush of godlike superiority. When you go no contact, you cut off this power supply. They experience a narcissistic crash. They feel small, impotent, and irrelevant. The craving to get you back is a craving to regain their stature. They want to resubjugate you to prove to themselves that they are still the alpha, still the puppet master, still in control of reality. You might ask, but what about the new supply? Aren't they getting their fix there? Here is the secret: tolerance. Just like a drug addict builds a tolerance, the narcissist builds a tolerance to supply. The new supply is fresh, yes, but they haven't been broken in yet. They don't know the script. They don't give the high-grade, deep-tissue validation that you gave after years of conditioning. The narcissist is often bored and frustrated with the new supply, which triggers the craving for the old stuff, you. You are the vintage wine they poured down the sink and now desperately want a sip of. Today, we are going to strip away the romance and look at the raw biology of this dynamic. We are going to expose the withdrawal for what it is: a pathetic, frantic scramble for regulation. By the end of this video, you will no longer feel flattered by their obsession, you will feel disgusted. You will see them not as a tortured lover, but as a junkie shaking in the corner, and you will realize that you are not the medicine, you are the prize they are trying to pawn to buy another day of denial. To understand the withdrawal, we must dissect the narcissist's brain chemistry. Studies suggest that narcissists have abnormalities in the areas of the brain associated with empathy and reward. They are dopamine-dependent creatures. Every interaction is a transaction for dopamine. When you praised them, dopamine. When you cried over them, dopamine. When you fought for them, dopamine. You were a walking dispensary. When you leave, the dispensary closes. Their brain screams for the chemical that makes them feel superior and stabilized. They are physically uncomfortable in their own skin without your input. This is why their behavior becomes erratic when you leave. You might see them spiraling, drinking too much, driving recklessly, or engaging in high-risk sexual behavior. This is seeking behavior. They are trying to replace the high you gave them with cheap substitutes. But nothing hits like the grade A supply of a long-term partner who truly saw them and stayed. They are chasing the dragon. The intimacy they crave is not emotional closeness, it is the specific neurochemical cocktail that your presence released in their brain. The narcissist also suffers from a lack of object constancy, but in a way that fuels the addiction. They cannot self-soothe. Healthy adults can comfort themselves when they are lonely. The narcissist cannot. They need an external regulator. When you are gone, their anxiety spikes to unmanageable levels. They feel a fragmentation of the self. They literally feel like they are falling apart. The craving for you is a craving for the glue that held their fractured psyche together. They want you back to wrap around them like a bandage. Let's talk about the phantom limb sensation. Because they enmeshed with you, viewing you as an extension of themselves, losing you feels like an amputation. But it's not an amputation of a loved one, it's an amputation of a functional tool. Imagine losing your right hand. You would crave it back not because you love the hand, but because you need it to function. You need it to write, to eat, to grasp. The narcissist craves you because they have lost their ability to grasp reality without your validation. The withdrawal is intensified by narcissistic injury. The fact that you left, or that you are surviving without them, causes a deep, burning shame. This shame is toxic to them. They need you back to neutralize the shame. If they can get you to come back, it proves they weren't rejected, it was just a break. They need to rewrite the narrative to soothe their ego. The craving is a frantic attempt to scrub the stain of rejection off their self-image using your return as the solvent. Their internal world is a chaotic storm of envy and hatred. When you are gone, they have nowhere to project this venom. You were the trash can for their negative emotions. Without you, the trash piles up inside them. They become toxic to themselves. The craving is a desire to purge. They want you back so they can dump their rage, their fear, and their insecurity into you again. They miss the catharsis of abusing you. It is a sick, biological need to expel their own poison into a willing vessel. You must understand that intermittent reinforcement works both ways. You were addicted to their breadcrumbs, but they were addicted to your resilience. They loved pushing you to the breaking point and watching you bounce back. It fascinated them. It fed them. When you go no contact, you stop bouncing. You become a wall. This lack of reaction drives them insane. They are like a child pressing a button on a toy that has stopped lighting up. They smash the button harder and harder, that is the craving you feel coming from them. The narcissist's false self requires constant maintenance. You were the chief engineer of the false self. You upheld the illusion that they were a good person, a victim, or a hero. Without you, the false self begins to crack. The truth of who they are, a scared, empty child, starts to leak through. The withdrawal is the panic of the false self dying. They crave you because you were the only one who knew how to prop up the lie effectively. They need their stage manager back because the set is falling down. They also crave that mirroring you provided. You looked at them with love, and they saw a lovable person reflected in your eyes. Now, they look into the eyes of the new supply and see a stranger, or worse, they look in the mirror and see nothing. The loss of your reflection is an existential crisis. They feel invisible. They crave your gaze because it gave them substance. Without it, they feel like a ghost haunting their own life, unseen and unanchored. This chemical dependency explains why they can move on so quickly yet still stalk you. They are eating fast food, new supply, to survive, but they are dreaming of the gourmet meal they threw away. The body survives on the fast food, but the addiction remembers the quality of what was lost. They are biologically wired to seek the highest density of supply with the least amount of effort, and your memory represents the peak of that efficiency. The turning point arrives when the narcissist realizes the withdrawal is not temporary. You have blocked the number. You have changed the locks. You are not responding to the flying monkeys. This is when the supply famine sets in. The narcissist enters a state of primal panic. The cool, calculated mask drops. You might hear stories of them acting unhinged, crying at work, starting fights with strangers, or sitting outside your apartment. This is not passion, this is a rat trapped in a corner. The hunger has taken over the host. In this famine state, the narcissist tries to extract supply from the past. They replay your old voicemails. They reread your old love letters. They are scraping the bottom of the barrel for dopamine. This is the intimate craving at its most pathetic. They are trying to get high on the fumes of a memory. It doesn't work, of course. It only makes the hunger worse. This frustration turns into rage. They are angry at you for starving them. In their twisted mind, your absence is an act of violence against them. The new supply begins to suffer. The narcissist, in withdrawal from you, cannot connect with the new person. They are irritable, distant, and critical. They project their frustration onto the new supply. Why aren't you like her, they might say, or imply. They are trying to force the new supply to become you, to transform into the drug they actually want. When the new supply fails, because they are a different person, the narcissist devalues them rapidly. The craving for you destroys their ability to fake it with anyone else. You might experience that extinction burst. In psychology, this is when a behavior spikes in intensity just before it dies out. The narcissist will pull out all the stops. The 3 a.m. texts, the threats of self-harm, the lavish gift sent to your job. They are throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. This dramatic escalation is the death throes of the addiction. They are overdosing on their own desperation. Do not mistake this fireworks display for a grand romantic gesture, it is a distress flare. The narcissist starts to realize that they are not omnipotent. For years, they believed they could pick you up and put you down at will. Your permanent removal destroys this fantasy. The withdrawal is compounded by a crisis of faith in their own powers. They feel like a magician who has lost their magic. This impotence is excruciating. They crave you not just for the supply, but to prove to themselves that they still have the touch. They may attempt triangulation from a distance. They post things specifically to trigger you, hoping you are watching. They are trying to provoke a reaction, anger, jealousy, anything. Negative supply is still supply. If they can get you to scream at them, the withdrawal stops for a moment. They feel seen. They feel significant. They are poking the bear because being mauled is better than being ignored. The craving is for impact, not affection. This is the moment where the hoover becomes dangerous. They are not just asking for a date, they are demanding a fix. If you let them in now, they will consume you voraciously and then discard you immediately. Why? Because once the withdrawal stops, the contempt returns. They only want you when they are shaking. Once they are stable, they will remember that they think they are better than you. You are nothing more than medicine to them, used when sick, forgotten when well. The narcissist's sleep is often disturbed during this phase. Without your regulation, their subconscious demons come out to play. They have nightmares. They suffer from insomnia. They wake up in a cold sweat, reaching for a body that isn't there. This physical exhaustion lowers their defenses. They look haggard. They age rapidly. The intimate craving is eating them from the inside out. They look like a painting that is melting. They begin to engage in a magical thinking. They convince themselves that you are meant to be, that the universe is keeping you apart, that they have had a spiritual awakening. They construct a grandiose narrative to justify their addiction. It's not that I'm dependent, it's that we are twin flames. This spiritual bypassing allows them to pursue you without admitting they are weak. It's a delusion built to hide the trembling of their hands. Ultimately, the turning point reveals the truth: they are slaves to you. You thought you were the victim, but in the dynamic of addiction, the dealer holds the power, not the user. You are the dealer of the supply they need to survive. By walking away, you have cut off the supply line. They are kneeling in the dirt, begging for a hit, while you are walking toward freedom. The power dynamic has completely inverted. As the famine continues, the narcissist's false self collapses. The charming, confident mask falls off, revealing the snarling, wounded creature underneath. They become collapsing narcissists. They might lose their job, alienate their friends, or get into legal trouble. The structure of their life, which was held together by the glue of your supply, disintegrates. The craving for you is the soundtrack to this collapse, a constant, droning noise that prevents them from focusing on rebuilding. The internal panic turns into paranoia. They believe you are out to destroy them. They project their own malice onto you. She's withholding herself to punish me. He's laughing at my pain. They view your self-preservation as a calculated attack. This paranoia fuels the craving. They want to capture you to neutralize the threat. They want to bring you back under control so they can stop looking over their shoulder. They experienced anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. The new supply, the hobbies, the money, none of it registers. It all tastes like ash. The only thing that had color was the drama with you. They crave the technicolor chaos of the abusive cycle. They are living in a black and white movie, desperate for the splash of red paint that was your pain and your passion. The social consequences are severe. People start to see the cracks. The narcissist can't keep the story straight. They talk about you obsessively to anyone who will listen. They play the victim, but their obsession is obvious. I just don't understand why she left. They are looping. They are boring their friends and scaring the new supply. The withdrawal makes them socially radioactive. The narcissist might try to reverse hoover, baiting you into contacting them. They might feign a medical emergency or a crisis. I'm in the hospital. My mother died. They play on your empathy, which they know is your weak spot. This is the addict faking a seizure to get a prescription. It is the lowest form of manipulation. They are weaponizing tragedy to soothe their craving. Deep down, they feel a soul murder. They feel that by leaving, you killed them. And in a way, you did. You killed the version of them that existed through your eyes. The craving is a desire for resurrection. They want you to breathe life back into their dead nostrils. They are zombies banging on the doors of the living, demanding entry. The intimate craving becomes a source of resentment. They hate you for making them feel this way. They hate you for having the power to affect them. They despise their own weakness. If they do get you back, they will punish you for this period of withdrawal. They will make you pay for every second they spent shaking. This is why getting back together is always a death sentence. The reunion is just the preamble to the revenge. They may spiral into the dark triad behaviors: stalking, hacking your accounts, vandalism. The restraints of social norms dissolve under the pressure of the withdrawal. They feel entitled to access you by any means necessary. If I can't have the supply willingly, I will steal it. The craving transforms them into a predator who hunts without camouflage. The narcissist realizes that the new supply is a placebo. It looks like the drug, but it has no effect. This realization is devastating. They spent so much energy securing the new person only to find out it was a waste of time. They look at the new supply with contempt. The new supply becomes the target of the rage meant for you. The collateral damage of your absence is the destruction of their current relationship. Finally, they are left alone with the void. The craving doesn't stop, but it changes. It becomes a dull, chronic ache. A reminder of their own emptiness. They realize that no matter how many people they consume, they will always be hungry. You were the best meal they ever had, and they starved themselves by throwing you away. The collapse ends in a whimpering realization of their own perpetual starvation. We arrive at the final truth. The narcissist does not love you, they are addicted to the function you performed. This distinction is the key to your freedom. You cannot have a relationship with a junkie who sees you as a syringe. You cannot build a life with someone who only wants you to stop their hands from shaking. The intimate craving is a biological reflex, devoid of heart, devoid of soul, and devoid of humanity. Knowing this empowers you to stay away. When you feel the pull to go back, remind yourself, I am not going back to a lover, I am going back to a user. You are not healing a wounded soul, you are enabling an addict. The kindest thing you can do for yourself, and even for them, is to keep the supply cut off. Let them face their own withdrawal. Let them sit in the mess they made. You must kill the hope that they dismiss you. They miss the service. They miss the convenience. They miss the ego boost. If you hired a butler and fired him, you would miss the clean house, but you wouldn't necessarily miss the man. To the narcissist, you were the butler of their emotions. Do not flatter yourself into thinking it was a romance. It was employment, and you were underpaid. Your absence is the only thing that forces them to face themselves. As long as you are there to regulate them, they never have to look in the mirror. By leaving, you hold up the mirror. The screaming, the crying, the stalking, that is the sound of them seeing their own reflection for the first time. Do not interrupt this process. Let them burn in the truth of who they are. Reclaim your energy. The energy they are craving belongs to you. It is your life force. You spent years donating it to a black hole. Now, keep it. Use it to heal. Use it to build a life so beautiful and so full that the narcissist's memory becomes a dusty relic of a dark past. You are the generator, and you have unplugged the parasite. When they reach out, visualize a shaking hand holding a begging bowl. Do not put anything in the bowl. No anger, no explanation, no attention. Give them nothing. Indifference is the antidote to their addiction. If they can't get a reaction, they can't get high. Be the grey rock. Be the empty room. Be the silence. Understand that the intimate craving will fade for them eventually, only to be replaced by a new addiction to someone else. They will find a new drug. They always do. Do not be jealous of the new victim. Pity them. They are about to be drained just like you were. You are the one who escaped the trap. You are the one who got clean. You have survived the extraction. You felt the pain of the discard, but that was just the pain of the parasite detaching. You are healing. They are not. They are doomed to repeat this cycle forever, always hungry, always hunting, never satisfied. Their craving is their curse. Your freedom is your blessing. Stand firm in your no contact. It is not a punishment for them, it is a quarantine for you. You are protecting yourself from a virus that wants to reinfect you. The withdrawal symptoms they are showing are proof that the quarantine is working. Let them shake. Let them scream. Keep the door locked. The narcissist's craving is the loudest confession they will ever make. It screams, "I am empty without you." Believe them. But do not try to fill them. You were made for more than being a patch on a leaking soul. You were made for real love, not just to be the fix for someone else's broken addiction. Walk away and don't look back at the addict calling your name. You are free.